divine physicists, divine alchemists, but we can add to that the need for us to become divine psychiatrists, not psychologists, but psychiatrists, because psychiatrists can give the proper medications. But it's also been suggested that every character in every story is an aspect of our soul. So let's see if this story can give confirmation to us that we've arrived at that state where we could call ourselves a divine psychiatrist. A young man by the name of Sun had his parents arrange a marriage for him with a young maiden called Ming Su. Now, after the marriage took place and they went to the wedding chamber, Sun found that his wife, Ming Su, was wearing a chastity belt. Not only that, she'd bound herself with sash upon sash upon sash, and she rebuffed every attempt for him to consummate the marriage. There was no way he could go through the bonds that she had wrapped around herself. But Sun grew more and more frustrated, more and more bitter, more and more angry. But one day he was talking to one of his friends, and his friends said to him, "Well, does your wife drink?" And Sun said, "Yes, a little." So his friend said, "Well, go to that alchemist, let him put together a potion for you that can soon be solved." So Sun went to the local alchemist. It was one of those days of Taoism, and got for himself a potion. So he mixed a nice drink, and taking a potion himself that had not been have the additives given to it, and enjoyed squaffing down a couple of glasses of this fine-looking nectar. Well, of course, his wife could not resist, so she too quaffed down the glasses of this rather delicious smelling nectar, which rendered her not unconscious. She was totally and completely aware, but she couldn't move. So, of course, Sun was able to take this opportunity to take advantage of her. So he unbound all of the sashes that she had around her and was able to remove the chastity belt that she wore beneath them. And so he did just that, taking advantage of her. But the next day, she was so abhorred by this that she took one of her sashes and hung herself. Now, Sun found her just as her tongue was coming out of her mouth and was able to cut her down. But the animosity between them was so much greater now that even when they passed each other in the passageways or in the kitchen, they almost snarled at one another like animals that were enemies. But of course, Sun was still so frustrated, and there had been occasions when his mother had begged him to go in to the conjugal bedroom and try again and again. But they faced away from one another, and nothing ever happened. But one day, it so happened that a mendicant nun was passing by the house, and when she was invited in, could see that Sun's mother was so sad, and asked her what troubled her. And of course the mother told the nun the whole story. Oh, the nun said, I have some magic that can fix that. Oh, said the mother, we would be eternally grateful and reward you in any way that you deem appropriate. So the nun said, go to the town and buy one of those scrolls that have lustful drawings on them. So the mother did what she was told. And when the scroll was brought back with these erotica on them, the nun cut out the figures of the male and the female and asked that the daughter-in-law's pillow be brought to her. So taking these figures, these cut out figures, the nun cut an opening in the pillow and putting in a little moxa, put them inside the pillow of the daughter-in-law. So with great hopes, the mother convinced the son to go again to the conjugal bedroom. And she asked a trusted servant to be outside the door and listen to what happened. But when son went into the bedroom, the outside servant could hear much tossing and turning going on. And then she heard son's wife uttering some endearing words. But then there was silence. So the servant looked through the keyhole and could see that son had his back turned to his wife, not taking any notice of her, coming towards him with her endearing words. So the next morning, the mother was greatly disappointed and related to the nun that it hadn't worked. Oh, said the nun, I can't understand that this magic didn't work. And then she had a realization. Oh, it's not the wife, it's son himself. We'll just repeat the magic and guaranteed it will work. So the nun did exactly the same thing, cut out the figures, little bit of moxa, put it in son's pillow, and the servant was put outside the door to listen. And at first there was the sound of tossing and turning, and then sweet phrases being whispered together, and then the clear sounds of copulation. Well, after that, Sun and Bing-Su were the most loving couple one could imagine. They had 2 children, and instead of sneering at one another when they passed each other, they touched and smiled. But when they were asked, what happened? What did you do to bring this all about? They said, oh, we really don't know. It just happened. Divine psychiatry that we've all had to experience, because to become divine thises and that's, we have to have the experiences. It does not come with learning and study, knowledge. To precede these words with divine can only come about by our own experiences. What's your experience? What's made you a divine psychiatrist? The bringing together of the polarities of our being, the male, female, objective and subjective. What's the story of the enactment of the coming together of these aspects of our self? My story. In my 40s, in Hawaii, undertaking a course in death and dying with Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, I had to undertake a series of drawings. In my first drawing, and the first question that's asked you to do a drawing of your family, which of course is giving a depiction of where your psyche is right at that moment. And my drawing was of a house, and my mother was inside the house. She could barely be seen because she was cooking over the stove. My father was outside chopping wood. The axe was above his head, pointing straight at his genitals. So this gave you an indication of where my male and females were at that time. So the task was to bring them together in drawings. So each drawing I did, I attempted to bring together this male and female. But it was very, very hard. I tried putting them on a picnic rug out in a picnic by the ocean. And the body language was that he was pointing away one way and she was pointing the other way. So I finally had them dancing, and I had them with body and their toes together, but their faces were turned outward. So how to fix this? How to bring it together? Consciously. And I couldn't. But one day I woke up without any thought at all. I got up and stood in front of the mirror and hugged myself. That was it. What's your story? What's your story? How do we become these divine psychiatrists? We all have a story related to this. When we claim the story, we can claim the honorific divine psychiatrist. We walk the walk. What's your story?